Hey everybody, welcome back to Indianapolis in the NFL Combine. This is Rapid Reaction brought to you by Byers Auto. I'm Austin Ward for Lettermen Row. That's Spencer Holbrook. Our work here in Indianapolis is just about done, ready to head back to Columbus and get ready for spring ball on Monday. But it's been an interesting week, Spencer, to look 11 Buckeyes, some working out, some not working out, some guys that are in the first round, some guys trying to boost their draft stock. As you leave here, what's going to be your number one takeaway for this version, this 2020 draft class for the Buckeyes?
I think Jeff Okudah is going to put up some eye-popping numbers. I really do. I think that's the biggest thing. He's going to solidify himself as somebody who should be taken right behind Chase Young at number 3 by either the Lions or whoever wants to could maybe trade up and get him, because I think he's going to put up numbers that are going to resemble a generational corner. I just think his athletic ability, the numbers, whatever they might be, Jalen Ramsey was a guy that people wanted to trade up for. There have been corners in the first round that people have wanted to go after, and I think he's going to be one of the most talked about players in this draft class after the Combine's over.
It's really surprising to me because we talked about it earlier in the week. Chase Young had absolutely nothing to prove, could make his own rules. He's not even going to do a 40 at Pro Day. It's rare that guys have that leverage, and I thought Jeff Okudah had that same opportunity. He didn't need to prove anything. He's going to be the best corner in this draft. He's going to be a top 5 pick no matter what he does. Why not, why take any risk? And he said he had Jalen Ramsey's workout totals, for example, on his board, Patrick Peterson, all these elite corners. He remembers watching them run the 40, watching, the 3-cone drill, like this one right behind us here that we'll have Spencer do and test his time out there.
Ooh,
it's
okay.
But he called it a dream come true to do it. So everybody's going to view it differently. If it were me, I didn't think he was going to risk it. But that's Jeff Okudah's mentality, and maybe that'll make the difference between couple $100,000, a couple $1 million, whatever, however the draft slots work. If someone was uncertain about Jeff Okudah and you say, hey, I'm not afraid to work out and prove I'm number one, I'm going to do it this weekend.
Well, and the other thing to me is Jeff Okudah could have said, I'm going to do my drills at Pro Day, because then he would have a whole nother month to get ready for everything that these scouts are going to throw at him. No, he wants it now. He's ready to prove himself now, and he's ready to be solidified, like I said, in that 3 slot. Maybe a team trades up to get to a Tagovailoa, but I just, if he puts up the numbers he expects to, there's no chance somebody passes on him at 3.
Yeah, it's interesting. You had him on this final day of our coverage here from Indianapolis, brought to you by Byers Auto. Jordan Fuller, Jeff Okudah, obviously, and Damon Arnett, those 3 guys in the secondary. We've been talking about, Kerry Combs and the reload. Some names keep coming up. All 3 of those guys started with Josh Proctor. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Jordan Fuller's praise for him was almost over the top. Some of that generational
best athlete ever.
Yeah, and then Seven Banks came up pretty frequently. Right there is maybe a cornerback in line, and a guy that I've talked about a little bit, and he was in my bold predictions at lettermenrow.com, Cameron Brown. I think that he is in line for a big spring, but there's no uncertainty there. When Jordan Fuller was talking about the safeties, he threw in Bryson Shaw that he really liked, Marcus Hooker. I think people have been worried just because they lost these 3 guys. They're all really good players. They're NFL players. There's no question about that. But it's not like Ohio State was not recruiting behind them. There are more NFL caliber players coming.
I think 2018 changed the way people look at that defense, because it took such a transition to get them back to the level they expect to be after 2018, and people don't want Ohio State to revert back to that 2018 defense that was just flat bad. And so I think it kind of makes people worried when they lose a guy like Jeff Okudah and they lose a guy like Damon Arnett, and I think it kind of resets their brain like, oh, here we go again. It's going to be 2018 again.
Right.
I think the brakes need to be pumped on all of this talk of this secondary slowing down. There's countless examples of Kerry Combs coming in and reloading a secondary.
Absolutely.
Jeff Hafley did it too. It's just what Ohio State does, and it's what Ohio State has to do to keep themselves at the highest level of this sport. It's never been an issue to reload for this team, so I don't understand why it would be an issue in the next year.
And even when you look at 2018, the reason I think that's such an isolated incident is that coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball was stale and unimaginative. And you look what happened once you had a little bit of fresh blood. I'm not trying to point any fingers, but it's just a fact. That was the worst defense in school history statistically. Jeff Okudah was still part of that. Damon Arnett was still part of that. Jordan Fuller was still part of that. Kendall Sheffield made an impact in the NFL last year. All those guys were part of the team. They still had talent. So, that's not going to be different from 2020. So the coaching starting on Monday with spring ball, what are you going to unlock with Cameron Brown? Can Tyreek Johnson live up to that 5-star billing? Can he get going?
Marcus Williams, another guy that's been brought up in the combine room.
He came up, I think Jordan Fuller brought his name up. It's not like there is a lack of options here. And even if sometimes freshmen are able to make a splash. Maybe it happens with Legend Cavazos and Ryan Watts. Like they're not short of guys to actually do it.
It's really funny to me how at every position on the field, Ohio State fans, by and large, look and say, what's next? What's coming next? What's coming next? And until you get to the secondary in the back end, and then everybody's heads are falling off because they don't want to know what's next because they don't think it's going to be very good. It's really talented. And that's just, I think we can, don't mean to beat a dead horse, but there's a lot of talent in that room.
And when you're talking about Okudah, like everyone knew this was a first-round pick almost from the moment that he stepped on campus. Now, maybe that is not the same case for a Brown or, Sevyn Banks, but Shaun Wade's going to be a first-round pick next year. I don't think there's any real doubt about that in my mind. So, let's relax a little bit about the secondary. I think it's going to be okay.
It's healthy to talk about it.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think, you're also replacing on the defensive line we talked about the other day with Chase Young and Vaughn Hamilton and Ja'Shawn Cornell and B.B. Landers. Like, nobody seems concerned about that because Larry Johnson's earned the benefit of the doubt, and you've got Tyreek Smith and Zach Harrison back. But the same, I think, is true for the secondary. All right, so let's put a pin on. We're probably going to talk about them a lot more in the next couple of weeks.
Maybe Monday.
Yeah, once they get back out there on the field. So what else stood out to you? Anybody else that you think still got something to prove, something they didn't prove before we head back to cover Ohio State next week?
You and I are going to talk about, until the draft happens, Vaughn Hamilton.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't know how you can have 6 sacks from the position he played in a almost platoon role that he played in and still be as under the radar as he is. Now, I understand he's not Chase Young. I understand he's not Derek Brown. Derek Brown is a generational defensive tackle. But this guy can just play, and he's really productive. And I'm going to sound like Mel Kiper a little bit, but like he's really agile for his size. He has really good hands when he's inside. I like to do a little draft scouting just because I'm a fan of the NFL, and I think his game translates so well. You look at some of the guys who play on the interior in the NFL, and like he just looks like an NFL defensive tackle.
Yep.
But he just does it with really good agility. So I think he can only go up. I don't think there's any way he falls any further than he is because it's kind of impossible at this point. He's so underrated right now.
And maybe the most interesting prospect from this week is Malik Harrison to me because the consistency throughout his career was just not there. The way he's going to test, I think, is going to be off the charts. And he came in here very confident. He believes that he's a top 5 linebacker in this draft. Maybe if he, again, to point back to that coaching staff in 2018, maybe if he'd had Al Washington longer, it would be a slam dunk and he'd be even higher. I think he's got a lot to prove. When you looked at the 11 guys this week, I didn't know that there was a lot of chance for them to move up or down in the draft. Maybe with Vaughn Hamilton, he blows somebody away with something, but it's just hard to really – his film is what it is, and it's really freaking good. Malik Harrison, when you put on the film, sometimes you're not always going to be sure what you got, but when they watch him here, you're probably going to get a bunch of NFL coaches that are like, their eyes open up, then they start looking at the good on the film, some of the plays that he made in the backfield, dropping into coverage a little bit, and then it starts coming up.
Yeah.
I think he's really the only guy who this week became really important for.
Yeah, maybe KJ Hill as well because slot receivers are so valuable. But Malik's an interesting. I think it's almost like a case study for these linebackers because he's got good ability. Mm-hmm. Just the consistency wasn't there, and so if he can start to put it all together and do better on the 3-cone drill than I'm going to, then I think somebody's going to take a second or third round flyer on him, and that's probably a little bit higher than a lot of people think he should go.
It's a good thing they don't actually have the clock on yet for people that are coming in, because then I might actually make Spencer do it, since I didn't have him do the bench the other day. Spring ball starts on Monday. We're going to wrap up the combine. We're done with that. It's been a fun week.
We don't cover the NFL.
We don't cover the NFL. When we talk about where guys are going, we're just guessing it. And look, admittedly, I've said this many times, like, I've watched all those guys play for 3-4 years. I just watched them play 14 times. I know how good Vaughn Hamilton is, but I don't watch all the other defensive tackles in the country or all the other linebackers. So there is probably a little bit of bias just on what we've seen, but it tends to be pretty accurate because Ohio State is continuing to pump these guys into the league.
Yeah.
We're not usually wrong about them.
Good luck to the teams who pass on these guys, because there's a lot of talent. They've proven that even if they're not as productive at all, like the wide receivers, for example, if you prove you're not as productive at Ohio State, that's okay, because you're going to still be productive in the NFL. So that would be my message to you can't be too confident in those meetings, but good luck if you pass on them, because they've proven that Ohio State to the NFL, it translates pretty well.
All right, what was your bold prediction for spring ball?
My bold prediction for spring ball? Oh, Harry Miller. I really like this guy. I just think I think he's kind of like Jonah, and he's kind of like Wyatt Davis. I think he needs a little bit more of a mean streak in him, but I think that can be turned on. Ohio State is one of those programs where they're not going to recruit the meanest offensive lineman off the field. But once they get on the field, they're just road graders. And I think the Josh Myers, Wyatt Davis, Jonah Jackson is going to turn into Harry Miller, Wyatt Davis, and Josh Myers, and I think it's going to be just great for Ohio State.
Well, I mean, Wyatt Davis and Josh Myers are two of the nicest guys that you're ever going to meet off the field, and that's been true for years.
They
in the past.
maul people on the inside.
Billy Price and Pat Elflein, I mean, that's been the mold for Ohio State. They've not had guys that take that nasty attitude with them off the field, but you're absolutely right. I think that one guard position is going to be fascinating, because the other name that we heard, Jonah Jackson brought it up, was Enoch Vamahi. I think
a guy who wasn't even going to be with the program this year.
He's a bonus for the Buckeyes. He's not going on that mission. I believe that he's put on something like 40 pounds since he arrived. He's got those great genetics and bloodline of big-time college football. That could be a really fascinating battle, because really there's, as I look at it, I wrote about Nicholas Petit-Frere this week. Let me get that right before spring ball, and I start talking about it more.
There you go.
I'm struggling, getting ready for spring ball.
Good thing Berm's not here. We go French.
Yeah, oui. I think he's not getting enough credit right now, because people are fascinated with Paris Johnson, understandably so. But NPF was also a 5-star, also the top-rated tackle in the country. You got Thayer Munford. He's going to be healthy and with a lot to prove at tackle. I think those spots are locked in. You know what you have at center and right guard. You have a ton of guys competing for one more spot in my mind, and that's going to be a fascinating couple weeks here.
It's kind of similar to last year's offensive line. There wasn't much uncertainty, but there was enough to get us talking about it.
Yeah.
And now we're going to have a little bit of a battle at that guard spot. And like you said, Enoch Vamahi, I think it's Vamahi. I want to get that one right too. Against Harry Miller, that's going to be fascinating, because Harry Miller's trying to make that transition from center to guard. He was recruited as a center, but you know how Ohio State works those interior guys around. I think the offensive line is going to be something to watch, especially with the questions in the run game. Yeah. When you have questions surrounding the run game, it starts up front. So you got to have a good offensive line to even get that thing started.
Yeah, we'll get into that and so much more starting Monday. Ohio State's got an open practice. Lettermen Row will have that fully staffed, as always, for you guys. Berm will be in town with us. We'll be all back together covering the Buckeyes. Tim May will be there. Can't wait. Spring ball is going to be a fun 6 weeks. A lot to learn about these Buckeyes as they try and get rolling again, get back to the college football playoff. And then next year, we'll be right back here for the NFL Combine. Probably 11 more guys or more will be back here. We'll have Spencer break some of that stuff down for you, the future NFL prospects. A lot of coverage, basically, is what I'm trying to say, coming to you at lettermenrow.com. This has been Rapid Reaction, brought to you by Byers Auto. If you're buying an auto, make sure you head to Byers Auto. Spencer Holbrook, Austin Ward, trying to get out of here as quick as possible back to Columbus. It's my birthday, and I'm ready to celebrate.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Right, I won't make you run the 3-cone now that it's your birthday.
There you go. I'm not sure that I could after this week. I'm exhausted and ready to get back a couple days off before spring ball. We will see you there. Appreciate you tuning in with us all week long. We'll see you back in Columbus. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Lettermen Live, we've got the practice report, we got Rapid Reaction. Hey, and you know we got Buckeye IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.